So, welcome. I am thrilled to extend a heartfelt welcome to each and every one of you as we gather for this ninth edition of our biannual Bladder Cancer Summit for patients and families. This year, we've had the pleasure of hosting two regional summits because you asked us to, by the way. Two regional summits for the first time, with the prior meeting being in Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, earlier this year. I think you'll find that we have a spectacular program featuring a remarkable lineup of speakers, sessions, and activities that promise to inspire and empower all in attendance. Now, before we dive into this incredible agenda we have in store for you, I want to take a moment to express our profound gratitude and admiration for the real heroes here today, our patients, caregivers, and advocates. Your presence here having journeyed from great distances, many of you, is a testament to your unwavering commitment and dedication to the Beacon community. You are the backbone of our mission, and we are immensely grateful for your support. Please join me in giving a round of applause to those courageous people in the room today. I'd also like to thank our corporate partners because without their generous support, you'll see the signage up here too, this summit would not be possible. As always, I want to thank our medical and research professionals who work tirelessly to make more and better tomorrows for those suffering from bladder cancer. If you have not had the chance to meet everyone in the room today and even the staff, in Stephanie's presentation, which comes right after mine, she's going to introduce you to everyone on the staff, talk a little bit about everything people do for Beacon, so you'll get all of that. I will tell you though that our full-time staff now constitutes 14 people. When I started back in 2016, we were 6 people strong. So many of you have been a part of this journey as Beacon has grown over the last 7, almost 8 years for me. I'd also like to recognize some additional important people in the Beacon family. If you have not been involved with our Walks to End Bladder Cancer, if you have been involved with our Walks to End Bladder Cancer, I ask that you please stand up. All the walk people in the room. Thank you so much. We had a really good time last night. We went on a cruise with the walk folks, just getting ready for Walk 2024. So thank you for those of you who came in early to make that happen. As we kick off our time together, let's remember the wise words. Mark has written this for me. Let's remember the wise words of former First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. Being together in this room is a gift for all of us, and over the next 2 days, I look forward to celebrating it with you. So without further delay, let's get started with our Director of Education, Stephanie Chisolm, who will give you a sneak peek into what's coming up and update you on all the exciting things happening with Beacon. Thank you once again for coming out. Come on up, Stephanie.
Thank you, Andrea. Andrea is our CEO, for those of you who don't know that. And she didn't even introduce herself, so.
Mark didn't write that.
Yeah, hi, I'm Andrea.
I read what you write.
She does, and she likes to stand at the podium. We know all of that. I'm going to walk you through everything. We're going to talk a lot. I'm going to talk fast. I hope to leave a little time for Q&A at the end, but if I don't, you'll see me all weekend, so it's not a problem. You can catch up with me. I just want to make sure. How do I press this? Oh, I got to point it there. I know. Aha. Okay. So, I'm the Director of Education and Advocacy at Beacon. Many of you know who I am. I've been with Beacon for over 8 years now. Love this organization. I've been with them really in spirit since the very beginning in 2005, when Diane Zapersky-Qualley and her husband John started the organization at their kitchen table in Bethesda, Maryland. I was working for a sister organization, and a parallel organization. I'd offer to do programs with them. And she said, only if it's just bladder cancer. Nobody talks about bladder cancer. Being the 6th most common cancer in America, it's kind of amazing that nobody talks about it. So I'm going to walk you through a lot of resources. Oh, that's the Aha. We have a pretty full agenda. I'll be welcoming you now, and we're going to, after lunch, talk about cancer rehabilitation. We're going to talk about patient research advocacy. There is a role for anybody who's interested to really shape the future of medicine, focused on what patient needs really are. And we'll talk about tips for managing disruption and anxiety. And then at the very end, we have a workshop on survivorship, and we'll be talking about some of the things that you might need for survivorship and help us understand what those things are. So we'll be talking about that today. Tomorrow morning, we're going to start with breakfast. You'll be able to go through that Rock Creek or whatever that room right over there is to pick up your breakfast. We'll have a volunteer fair. You'll have a chance to talk to staff and perhaps sign up to volunteer for something. And then we're going to have a nice conversation with a few of our longtime patient advocates talking about tips and tricks for survivorship. And then we'll be hitting some exercise, get you moving around a little bit and talking about stress management as we move through bladder cancer. And then at the end of Saturday's program, we have everybody's favorite session, and that is to hear from two doctors, a urologist and a medical oncologist, who are going to share what they are excited about. Because when BCAN started in 2005, the most recent new treatment was BCG. And it had already been on the, out there for about 20 years. And for many years, right up until the time that Andrea and I started, we started about the same time, that had been the only new treatment out there. I was 40 years old. How many of you are 40? Anybody? You're not new, okay? So to say that's the newest treatment, that was kind of sad. And what was really amazing was right as we got started, the immunotherapies started to get approval. Boom, 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 one after another. And now we have targeted therapies and gene therapies. And it's been an amazing advance in the last 8 years. And it's only going to get better. And that's what they're going to talk about in the sessions tomorrow afternoon. So I want to thank, again, all of our sponsors that make this event possible. We couldn't do it without them. And there are some of our sponsors here, and they would love to know what your story is. So feel free to share and talk and get to meet some folks. So bladder cancer. I built this program with patient advocates, really talking about it's a journey, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. There's a lot of reasons behind that. About 50% of all bladder cancer patients are diagnosed with non-muscle invasive disease. I like to say that bladder cancer is kind of like an iceberg. The bulk of the iceberg is under the water, the part that you don't see. About 33% are muscle invasive. They're the ones that are maybe having to make a decision of remove your bladder, not remove your bladder, try something else, what's going on. And then we have locally advanced, where the cancer may have spread to nearby organs in the pelvis, to metastatic for the remainder of the population. But no matter how you get there and what your diagnosis is, it's still like you're on the Titanic. Right? Do you feel like that sometimes? Like my ship is sinking and I don't know what to do. So, some fun facts about bladder cancer. I already told you it's the 6th most common cancer in the United States. It has a really high rate of recurrence. I'm going to tell you why in a minute. And it's very expensive to treat.
In the U.S., okay, what about worldwide?
It's in the top 10. Worldwide. And globally, there are other factors. One of the leading factors that's behavioral that could be controlled, and I know that most of you probably never smoked a day in your life, and you might still have bladder cancer, but we know that smoking is the leading behavioral risk factor. But globally, there are other factors like weird little bugs called schistosomiasis that lay eggs in your bladder, and they trigger bladder cancer. So it's really a unique situation, and it is a global problem, and it's in the top 10 globally. So we also know that about 60 to 80% of bladder cancer patients are not seen at large academic hospitals like Vanderbilt University Medical Center or Johns Hopkins Medical Center or some of the other medical centers. They're seen in their communities by their local urologist, their local medical oncologist. So, talking about recurrence, why is bladder cancer so challenging? Someday I'll retire and I'm going to go to work in my garden all the time. Dandelions, you can eat them, but they really are my arch enemy because when they get into my flowers, I get really annoyed. Dandelions are just like bladder cancer because one of the things that they do, especially if you have non-muscle invasive bladder cancer and it's on that urothelial lining in your bladder, they go in with a little piece of electrical cautery wire and an instrument with a TURBT, a transurethral resection of a bladder tumor. And basically they carve it out and take it out. Now, how many of you garden? Anybody? And how many don't like dandelions in their yard? Okay, so we have a consensus here. When you go to get that dandelion out of your yard, if you don't get all the roots out, it's going to come back. And what if one of those puffs fell off before you even got there? Or while you're taking the dandelion out of the ground? Have you ever seen them fall off? It's really frustrating because you know there's going to be dandelions. You can't catch them. Bladder cancer's like that. When they're taking that tumor out, it can reseed itself. It possibly could. Maybe they don't get all the roots out. This is my personal little analogy to this, just to help you understand why it's such a problem. And you also have to think about the field effect. The very things that made some of your cells go to the dark side and turn into cancer, like environmental exposures, maybe something in the water supply, maybe something that's changed your genes. Those very things are in all of those cells. And we don't know what triggers a cell to flip over, but it can come back. It has a very high rate of recurrence and thus a very high rate of treatment cost. Okay? Did that explain it to you guys? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. I think I've gone too far for the clicker. I have to come back on this side. Come on, clicker. Okay, so let's talk about Survivor Town. This is something that's evolved over the summits because when people were registering, I would get questions. Well, I don't know which one I should say when I register. Should I register as a patient? I'm done with treatment. Or should I register as a survivor? Does that mean I'm a survivor if I'm done with treatment? But if you're in treatment, are you a survivor? Because you're here, you're going through treatment. It's really kind of nebulous, so it's a little bit confusing. So I thought it would be helpful to get the definition. A person who survives, especially a person remaining alive after an event in which others have died. And quite honestly, that has happened with bladder cancer. So you're all survivors. A person who copes well with the difficulties in their lives. Raise your hand if bladder cancer is not a difficulty in your life. That's what I expected. Okay. So we added a few things to this definition. You know, you can be newly diagnosed, not even going through treatment. You just found out. That happens. You can be in treatment. Some of these treatments take weeks or months or even years to keep up with maintenance. And then you could be one of those people that's post-treatment and beyond. So surviving is one thing. I want to talk a little bit about thriving. To grow or develop well or vigorously, prosper or flourish, to progress toward or realize a goal despite of or because of circumstances. I would venture a guess that many of you have changed some goals that you might have had in your life because you've been diagnosed. They say cancer changes you. I'll talk about that later too. But we want to really work on thriving and surviving, kind of hand in hand. I think that's a big issue for us. I know that when you're newly diagnosed, you're facing something that's really scary. And everybody I ever have spoken to on the phone over 8 years has said, I'm scared, I don't know what to do. I've never met anybody with bladder cancer. Well, you're in a good place right now because you're going to leave here with 150 friends who all know exactly what you're going through. So we're going to really talk about the bladder cancer journey. I want to stress that it's different for every single person. You all start from a different place. We're all going towards a goal of wellness and long and happy, healthy life, but we're dealing with something. There's some very significant potholes. So I want to find out a little bit about who's here. So what I'm going to ask you to do, I know it's a little tight in here, but I want you to look around. If you were diagnosed or your loved one was diagnosed with, well, actually, if you're a family member, stay seated because I have a category for you. But if you have non-muscle invasive bladder cancer as your diagnosis, please stand and look around because I'd like you to get to meet some of the other people in the room. Take a good look around. Okay? Thank you. And now, you can sit down. And the people with muscle invasive disease, if that's your diagnosis, please stand up, look around so you can connect because it takes one to, you can share. It's great. Get to meet each other. Anybody here have upper tract urothelial carcinoma, known as UTUC? Okay, 2 of you. And you guys already know each other. All right. Now, how about locally advanced or metastatic disease? Anybody here with that diagnosis? See, you're not alone. We got people here. Thank you so much. All right. And now all the family members, caregivers, the people that are co-pilots, that are navigators on your journey with you, please stand. Because y'all have different issues too, and it's nice to be able to connect because it's pretty incredible how there's some common threads and maybe some different challenges that you guys can help each other out with. So that's really important. Whoops, I went back one too far. Okay, and then lastly, just so you know who they are, please stand up if you work for one of the industry sponsors that make this meeting possible because we want to thank you. So please stand up. Thank you all. Okay. Excellent. Okie doke. So now I'm going to let you sit. All right. Raise your hand if this was your first BCAN Summit. Look at that. Wow. Excellent. Okay, now raise your hand if you were diagnosed this year. A few newbies. Welcome to the club that nobody wanted to join. It's nice to have you here, though. I'm glad you're here. Raise your hand if you were diagnosed more than 5 years ago. Okay, nice. And now keep your hand up if you were diagnosed more than 10 years ago. Okay. And I happen to know that there are a couple people that I met when BCAN started in 2005, 2006, so going on 20 years that are here, and we'll meet some of them later. So I want you to see that as this is long-term. There are options. There are things that you can do, and there's hope. And that's an underlying message here the whole time. So let's talk about the resources that you need to guide you and some traffic advisories, maybe even some potholes, things that you should know on the road to Survivor Town, because that's where we hope that you can be, where you can thrive and survive. So now I'm going to ask you, most places they say, put your cell phone away, turn it off, turn the volume off, but you can put your cell phone on the table because I'm going to ask you to do some stuff in a little bit, okay? So the very first thing is I want you to take out your cell phone and put it on the camera mode and go to this slido.com. You should be able to get the QR code to open up. You just touch it when it's got the little square on your camera, okay? And now this is our experiment. So are you ready, Patricia? Okay, we're going to see how this works. All right. All right. How are you feeling today? Is there supposed to be the little people on the little smileys on the bottom?
It is on the.
Okay, it's not showing up on the screen. Okay, so now just tell me how you're feeling today. Patricia, do I have to advance this to get to the results? Is it working, Patricia? Yep. We're switching back to the other slide deck. Hold on. Give us a minute. This is why we're testing this now, because I'm going to use it a couple times. I figured if anybody can screw it up, it'll be me. So let me do that, and then we'll let other people work better. Give me a second. Okay. So looks like 52% of you are pretty happy. Some of you are really happy that we love that you're here, 32%. 12% of you are not too sure. Somebody's not happy. 1%? Okay. Well, let's go on. We got a couple more things for you to do with this, okay? How are you feeling? Yeah, well, you're not feeling great. Okay, yeah. Thank you for pointing that out, Andrea. Okay. Oh, I got to point at the back. I'm sorry. Whoop. Okay, now, this one. I just want the 2 letters of your state. Don't put the whole name in there. Just put in the 2 letters that represent your state. I want to see where people are from. Then put in CA. CA is good. It'll fit in with the Californians, but that's okay. Okay. So wow, the greatest number of people in this room are here from PA. Wow. A big group from North Carolina. I'm a little disappointed, not as many from Tennessee, but it's not as big as some of the others. A few people from DC, Arizona, people coming in from a distance. Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Well, let's go on to the next one because I have a big mouth. I talk a lot, and I want to be able to give you lunch before we start the rest of the program. Tell me where you're being treated. Are you being treated at a large university hospital, at a community cancer center, or just in your doctor's office? Well, this is very telling, and it fits very much with what I know, being at Beacon for so many years. We are really well connected to the large academic hospitals. Not so much to the smaller community centers, and definitely not as much to the doctor's practices. So I'm going to ask you, if you find value in everything that you're going to learn this weekend, that perhaps you become one of our advocates. We will help you inform your doctors so that anybody else that comes into their practice doesn't have to find Beacon on a Google search. They can find Beacon because their doctor's office, whether it's the doctor, the nurse practitioner or PA, or the person behind the desk that checks you in says, oh, you should know about Beacon because they have resources. So we're going to ask you to help us with that. Oops, sorry, taking a second. I know I'm. Okay, so now I am going to have you meet the best resource because we have somebody who can help with everything. You've already met Andrea Maddox-Smith, our CEO. And so she is the best. So when you need something, she actually gives out her email. And her email is in that little program book you have. And she always gives out her email in our monthly bulletin saying, hey, reach out and let me know if there's something you need. And she does answer. Or she sends them to the appropriate staffer to answer because she doesn't have every answer at her fingertips. But she does do that. So please, get a chance to talk to Andrea Maddox-Smith. Alina is back in the background. She is a new member of our communications and marketing team. So you'll see Alina a lot. She's involved with putting up our My Bladder Cancer stories, and she helps Mark Story, who is our communications and marketing director, do his thing, but I'll tell you about him in a second. But you'll see more of Alina. She'll be taking pictures throughout the program today and helping me put together my closing slides at the end. Come on. Why is this taking so long? Valerie Aldana is part of our research team. She handles all of our post-awards. Beacon gives away money every year. That's partly what we do. We're here to support you, and we're here to change the landscape by funding research. And Valerie is part of our research team. She's not able to be here today. Jocelyn is here today, and you might have seen her. She might be in a meeting right now. Jocelyn, are you in the room? Nope, I don't see her. But she is here, and she is part of our development team, and she's very much involved with our walks. So you will see Jocelyn. You know me. I'm the big mouth. Ann Collins is here. She's very much involved with our research department as well. She really helps get our research awards out there so people know that they should apply for research funding from Beacon, but also she helps to put together the scientific review groups that evaluate all of those so that we ensure that our money that comes from donations, from the walks, and all the work that we do goes to the very best research. We have very rigorous scoring criteria, and many of our awards now actually include a patient reviewer. So we'll talk about that if you're interested. I have things you could do. So, okay. Rob Densky, standing there in the corner in his Beacon orange shirt. Rob is our Chief Development Officer. He helps with everything that we're doing in raising funds and support, and he really gets it. He really believes in what we do and wants to make sure that we can continue to do that well beyond our soon-to-be 20th year. Can you believe that? We are in 18 right now. So next year's 19, and the year after, it's going to be the big 20th anniversary. That's pretty exciting. Click, 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 come on. Bernadette. Many of you know Bernadette because you are either a volunteer in our Survivor to Survivor program. Where is Bernadette? Is she in here? There she is in the back corner. Or if you've requested a call from a Survivor to Survivor volunteer because you really wanted to understand what's in store for you going down the pike. Bernadette is an excellent matchmaker. I've yet to find anybody who said, yeah, Bernadette really set me up with a terrible match. That's never the case. I always hear, Bernadette knew exactly what I needed. So that's Bernadette in the back corner. She also runs the chapters for us. Rebecca Johnson was planning to come down. She ended up not being able to come because she's got a 1-year-old and they make you sick. And so she was not able to come. We figured it was better she should stay home. And so I'll be filling in. I feel like we should have like that special theater voice. The role of Rebecca Johnson will be played by Stephanie Chisolm. And I also do need to tell you that the role of Dr. Ben Murin, who's in your book, the medical oncologist that's going to be there on Saturday, he had a death in the family, was not able to come, unfortunately. And the team at Vanderbilt did an amazing job. And we have 2 doctors, Dr. Amy Luckenbaugh and Dr. Katie, I'll remember her name later, I'll remind you. But anyway, she'll be coming from Vanderbilt to talk about those new discoveries. And I think it'll be excellent, and we really appreciate Vanderbilt stepping up to do this because we were really trying to showcase some of the people that Beacon has awarded funds for research to, and unfortunately, Dr. Miriam wasn't able to make it. Come on, click ahead, click ahead. Ivan Martinez is also not here, and he is our Community Engagement Manager. So if you're interested in helping us connect your doctors to Beacon, I'm going to refer you to Ivan and we'll be able to send out materials. I'll talk to you more as we go along about that. And everybody has met Trenny. She's outside. She is the overall organizer for everything that Beacon does. And if you like the food and you like everything that's happening here, let Trenny know, because she's the one who does all that picking out for all those good things. But she is here. She's also Andrea's executive assistant. And again, she's the pivotal part of Beacon. Everything runs through Trenny. Come on. There he is, Mark Story. Give a shout out, our director of communications. He does things like, how many of you listen to Bladder Cancer Matters podcast? Okay, Mark does that. And all the other messages that you see on Facebook and all these other things, and our bulletin, all that, that's Mark. So if you have suggestions, he's the one. That's his email address. It's in your book.
Stephanie,
Yeah.
I need one more person for video.
Oh,
One more.
and the criteria is you would have been connected to Beacon, and you talk about your diagnosis and your connection to Beacon.
Yes.
Okay. Any volunteers? We're making some videos that'll be playing in 24, little snippets on things like that. So if you're interested in sharing, you see Mark in the corner, you know how to find him. Okay? That help? Okay. And in the back is Patricia Rios, the newest member on our team, and she is the Senior Director of Education and Advocacy. I'm thrilled to have her here as we move forward with bigger planning for 24 and into 25. We're real excited to have Patricia here. And I think she's met many of you, but if not, you definitely want to get a chance to talk to Patricia. And Rebecca Yiannopoulos, is she in the room? Oh, she was here. She is the walk manager and in the development team. So many of you who have been part of walks in your local cities probably know Rebecca already, but that's Rebecca. If you see her around, say hi. I think I got everybody. So our mission is to educate and support patients, provide research funding, advance treatments, and advocate and raise awareness. May is Bladder Cancer Awareness Month. That's one of the things that we do. One of the greatest resources, and one that I say is open 24/7, when you have the oh my God moment in the middle of the night and you think, the doctor told me they're going to do this, or they want to do this, and you don't know about it, go to bcan.org. We're open 24/7 there. We've got everything. We've got content written, we've got videos, we've got downloadable PDFs, you name it. If there's something missing, just let us know and we can work to get it up there if you think it's going to be really helpful to other patients. Come on. Okay, here's another opportunity for you to take out your phone. One of the things that really helps is to just kind of walk through our resources. So what we did was we created individual pages that if you have a non-muscle invasive or muscle invasive, you can pick which QR code you scan, and that will open that page on your phone, and it'll basically lay out everything. When people call or write to me, I try to put together a little roadmap of start here, because quite honestly, I think sometimes when you go to our website, and I'm guilty of this because there's just so much to put on there, it's like getting a sip of water from a fire hydrant. It's like a lot all at once. So this is a way to sort of dip your toe in a little at a time and step on this rock and then go on this rock and then go down and cross the river that way. So these are all your individual pages if you're looking for them. We even have a resource on our website in case you're curious. How many other people in my state have bladder cancer? Well, this is the state of Tennessee. Every year, there's going to be 1,730 people diagnosed, newly diagnosed in the state of Tennessee this year. And then we list all of the states so you can look for that information in case you ever wanted to know. We have a whole lot of other resources. Bladder Cancer Basics, our signature document. It's like 54 pages long, and it has everything in there. And it's meant to be basic, the basic information. And what it does is at the bottom of every page, in the newest edition, there's a QR code that takes you to the corresponding web page that has more information, that has the videos and everything else. So you can get it in English, you can get it in Spanish, and we'll even send you little starter packs if you want to give it to your doctor. You just need to let us know, and we'll do that so that you can share it with your doctor's office so they know that they can hand it out to other patients who are diagnosed. We have simple fact sheets. Our Get the Facts pages are designed with patients, and they really showcase questions and terms that patients wish they had understood and wish they had asked, and all of those. And we have them about every aspect of bladder cancer, all the different treatment options and the diagnostics, and even palliative care, many different aspects of bladder cancer in simple, easy to read Get the Facts pages. You can download them and print them, or just download them and keep them on your computer. We have a whole library of expert videos. Some of them are animations, and then many of them are patient insight webinars or treatment talks where doctors and their patients talk about a particular treatment. They're great resources. We keep them updated. They're usually 2 or 3 years old, and then we refresh them so that we're always staying as current as we can. But there's a ton of resources. I think I counted over 40 videos that are listed on our website. Our Survivor to Survivor gives you an opportunity to speak to somebody who might have gone through whatever treatment you're facing, so that you can get questions that they wish they had asked, or ask questions about, well, what's it like living with a urinary diversion? Or what's it like on immunotherapy? You know, these are some important questions that maybe talking to somebody else will be beneficial to you. So if that's something you're interested in, you can find our Survivor to Survivor at that QR code. And Beacon launched at the beginning of the year a partnership with Cancer Care. They are another patient advocacy organization, and they have more than 40 oncology social workers in New York, and they have a dedicated number, 833-ASK-FOR-BCA, or 833-275-4222, and you can talk to an oncology social worker during regular business hours, New York time, and they can help you find resources in your community, or if you're in New York, New Jersey, and parts of Connecticut, I think they are licensed to do social work and provide you with some help that way as well. So another resource that Beacon was able to do thanks to generous support from many of our industry partners. Beacon chapters. Daryl, raise your hand. Daryl just started our newest chapter. He just launched the Chicagoland chapter. It was a Herculean lift, and there are many people here from the Chicagoland area. It takes more than one person, but talk to Bernadette if you're thinking, wow, I'd love to have a Tennessee chapter or a PA chapter. Let us know. We have guidelines and suggestions and things like that. So anyway, that's something else that you can do. A resource. Oops. I'm the Director of Education and Advocacy. One of the things that we're going to focus on going forward, we know that research is sadly underfunded when it comes to bladder cancer research. And Beacon has been really pushing to make sure that federal funds go to bladder cancer research. That's a big push. But this year coming up, we're really kind of aghast at the fact that veterans are more prone to bladder cancer because of occupational environmental exposures. And Vietnam-era veterans are covered as what we call presumptive conditions. They presume that if you were in country where Agent Orange was used, that your bladder cancer might be related to that exposure that you had as a veteran. But veterans of modern warfare are exposed to different chemicals, to burn pits and other toxins, things in water supplies and air that they breathe, and all kinds of things that are linked to bladder cancer. So our push this year will really be to make sure that the PACT Act, which covers veterans of modern warfare to be covered by the VA health system, includes bladder cancer because it was not on that list. And we were a little surprised by that. We were very excited to hear about the PACT Act was going to bring in these new veterans who are willing to give their lives to their countries. But it never said anything about bladder cancer in there. And it's really a travesty. So we'll be working on that. So if you are a veteran, let us know, because the more voices we bring to the table, the better it will be. So we'll be looking for engagement in that area. Every May is Bladder Cancer Awareness Month. How many of you knew that? Good. Okay, well then we're raising awareness. Well, again, we would love for you to share resources with your medical team so they can get involved. We also have walks around the country and love to get more people engaged. I'm going to give you a preview of something, and we have a new app. I think Mark said it should be out sometime in November. We're still at the beta testing phase, but the new app will be coming soon. It'll give you a way to keep track of your appointments. It'll hook up with our clinical trials dashboard. It will do all sorts of things and give you lots of information at your fingertips. Promise I will send notes out in our bulletin so you will know exactly when it's launched. I already mentioned that we do support research. We do make it easy for patients to find clinical trials. We know that no new science happens without clinical trials. And clinical trials require you to give something very precious, your body, to science. Now, there are benefits to clinical trials. You might have access to stuff that's not even available in your doctor's office by being in a clinical trial. You also will get much more active and rigorous monitoring because they want to know everything that's going on. So if you're ever interested in a clinical trial, you can find all the open active clinical trials in the United States by looking on our clinical trials dashboard on the BCAN.org webpage. And you can search by your diagnosis, you can search by your geographic state, or maybe you have a second home, or maybe your cousin lives in another state where they're doing more research. You could find that, and maybe that's another way to connect you to a clinical trial. So that's the QR code for that page. And if you're ever interested in some of the research that Beacon supports, you can learn more about that with this QR code. So you probably have a whole bunch of windows now open on your phone if you've scanned all of these things. For those who might be interested, we'd love for you to consider being on a patient advisory board or talking to some of our pharma partners, because many of them have worked for years on a drug and never really met a patient. And it's a powerful experience, because I always remind scientists and even the doctors that are doing clinical trials and our pharma partners that behind every N in every research study that they do, they're real people. And more than 150 of them are here in this room. And I think it's really important. So if you're interested, we're going to be talking with Dr. Angela Smith later today. She is an amazing physician who is very focused on patient-reported outcomes and how our Beacon Research Advocate program developed. And so if you're interested, we'll give you plenty of opportunity to sign up. And then speaking of research, we have our Survivorship Task Force, and our two chairs of the Survivorship Task Force are sitting in the back of the room. Raise your hands, ladies. Christina Amodi and Mary Dunn are both nurse practitioners, and we have a few other nurse practitioners here. They're going to be leading a little workshop. We've been doing some research and developing some ideas on survivorship tools, and we're going to ask for your opinion this afternoon, okay? Whoops. Went too fast. It wasn't going fast enough. Again, walks, there's going to be information and opportunity to sign up or start a walk wherever you are. And now it's not going fast again. Shh. Come on. Okay, for those of you who are becoming groupies, some of you we do see more than once. We love getting together with everybody. Our next summit will be in Seattle, Washington in March. So now you have my email address. If you have any questions, please let me know. Andrea, where are we for time? Oh, I see, I talk fast. I'm from New York, I do that. So I want to point something out. On each of these tables, there is a Connect, Thrive, and Survive bingo paper. There's no prize. This is for you. This is for you. Because if I gave a prize, then you'd have to give them to me, and then it would be useless. So let me explain what this is. I want you, over the next 2 days, to fill this page up. And fill it with the name, and if they're willing, the contact information of some of the people that you meet. And that way, you leave here with more connections, more friends, and more support. So, are there any questions about anything that I talked about so far? Let me go back. Yep, March 8th and 9th. And I don't remember, I think it's the Marriott at the airport. We just signed the contract, so working on that next. Yes, we'll be there. Okay? Oh, good.
I'm,
Yeah, speak
Yes.
louder.
I'm a research coordinator from the Veteran Health Administration and for urology department. And so if anybody would like to talk to me about the care at the VA, I'm more than happy to share.
Sweet. Yeah, stand up and can you give us your name? I'm sorry. Give us your name too so everybody knows how to find you.
My name is Laura Jensen.
Okay.
I'm a research coordinator at the Veterans Health Administration in urology for Dr. Florian Schrock.
Nice.
And so I'm here, and I'd love to talk with you. If anybody has any questions about care at the VA, please feel free to grab me.
Dr. Schrock is fabulous. He's done a lot with BCAN. We love that, and we appreciate that you're down here. So absolutely, and we're going to get you and everybody else involved in this advocacy for getting bladder cancer approved on that PACT Act. So, did you have a question, yellow shirt?
I was just wondering if the VA seems to be subject to the worldwide shortage of BCG fluid or not.
Yeah, so the VA has not been exposed or subjected to the BCG shortage. You know, a lot of the BCG shortage, they kind of knew it was coming, and they had planned to build a new plant, and they're in the process of building that new plant. There's only one supplier of BCG, and so they're still on target for adding a second plant, which will hopefully eliminate some of that shortage. And some of that BCG shortage they hope to alleviate by making sure that people who had a lot of BCG in the past were going to still get their allotment of BCG. We know that that doesn't always play out, and even some large academic hospitals at big universities have had shortage issues. And we know that they did a lot of science to double check, and getting a 1/3 dose of BCG can be effective as well. And so many places will do the 1/3 dose. But the problem is that if you're going to do a 1/3 dose and only one person shows up, the other 2/3 get wasted because they have to defrost it to get it to put in. So it's a bigger effort to make sure that 3 people are basically lined up with, you know, BCG treatments at the same time. And that's where it gets a little bit hard. So, you know, we can talk about that a little bit later on with the doctors from Vanderbilt and the BCG shortage. And there are other options now for people who don't respond to BCG. There's a new option that has been approved, which is very exciting. But we're going to save that for Saturday. Okay? Any other questions about BCAN resources? So make sure you connect with a staff person and, you know, let us know what you want to do, because we're here for you. And lunch is out there?
It's out there.
Is out there. Come back in here. It's going to be box lunch, and we will start again promptly in an hour at 1 o'clock. Thank you, everybody.